Hello, my amazing children. This is Grandma Carla, and I am back with Missionary Stories with the Millers. We're on lesson 26. The missionary says a bad word. Alfredo was just 6 years old, and he was terribly frightened. Under the thin, ragged shirt he wore, his heartbeat fluttered against his ribs. Brown eyes wide, he stared at the big boy who was speaking. "It's true," the older boy repeated with a mocking grin. "Pepe heard the principal talking. You little boys are going to be sent to the foreign missionaries' home because you're too small to live here at the observatory. Those foreigners are gringos, white people from the United States, and you know why they have pale white skin instead of a brown skin like ours?" The big boy leaned closer and hissed, "It's because they eat children. They will fatten you up until you're nice and plump, and then," the boy drew a finger across his throat and rolled his eyes horribly, "they will eat you." Alfredo was too scared to reply. He stared mutely, eyes bright with unshed tears, as the big boy walked away laughing to join his friends. "I wonder if Pedro is going to that place too," he thought. He is little like me. Alfredo had never known much love in his short life. He had no idea where his parents were, or whether he even had any parents. He could just barely remember being brought to town several years before by a man who had disappeared, leaving him all alone on the city street. Could that man have been Alfredo's father? If so, why had he left him behind? Alfredo did not know. He had cried himself to sleep on the sidewalks and stolen food to eat when he was hungry, until at last a policeman had picked him up and brought him to the boys' observatory. About 300 boys lived in the observatory, pinned up behind a large chain-link fence. Most of them were much older than Alfredo, thieves and other young criminals who needed to be imprisoned. Life was tough inside that fence with hundreds of cruel, wicked big boys. "But it's better than being eaten up," Alfredo thought with a shiver. One tear slipped down his thin brown cheek as he scampered off to tell Pedro the bad news. Roman Mullet, the missionary, whistled a happy tune as he walked down the street. As usual, a crowd of ragged boys followed at his heels, hoping that this kind-faced American would give them something. Roman loved children, and his heart went out to these poor young beggars on the streets of San Salvador. He had always had a kind word and a pocket full of coins to give them, but that seemed like so little. At last, Roman thought, as he stopped at the heavy iron gate of the boys' observatory, "At last, our new children's home is ready. Now we can take home some of the poor orphans in this city and give them proper love and care. Here are the boys you are to take today," the principal of the observatory said to Roman. "They are too young to live here, learning bad habits from our older boys. They will have much better care in your children's home. I don't know why they look so scared. Come on, boys," he scolded. "Be brave and behave yourselves. This gringo will take good care of you." But Pedro and Alfredo did not smile. Their eyes were full of fear as they were placed in the missionary's car. "My name is Roman Mullet, but you can call me Pappy, and this lady will be your mammy," said the missionary. "We are so happy you are coming home with us." He smiled broadly. Alberto looked at the missionary's teeth and shivered. "Poor little boys," Roman said softly to his wife Amanda in English. "They look so frightened, but we will soon cheer them up." "These white gringos can't talk very well," Alfredo thought. "They mix up their words like babies who are just learning to talk." Alfredo was right. Roman and Amanda Mullet had only been in El Salvador for a few years, so they were still learning how to speak Spanish. When the two little boys arrived at their new home, they found it very different from the observatory in the city. A pleasant, comfortable-looking house was ready for them, with clean, soft beds, new clothes, and even some toys to play with. Outside the house, there was a big grassy yard and an orchard with long rows of orange and lemon trees. The Mullets already had a little girl named Rosa at the children's home, a beautiful brown-skinned toddler whom the police had found sitting alone in the sidewalk at a cardboard box. Then there was Jorge, the Salvadoran man who worked at the home. His face was brown too, and he spoke good Spanish. Alfredo felt a little better after he met Jorge. Everyone at this new children's home was so kind, and there was so much good food to eat. Little by little, Alfredo and Pedro's fears slipped away. Pappy and Mammy aren't going to eat us, Pedro said boldly to the others one afternoon. Those big boys were lying. It's much nicer here than at the observatory. The boys grew happy and healthy, and sometimes they got into mischief. Senor Roman, Jorge complained to the missionary one day, these boys use terrible language. We must teach them not to say such bad words. They must have learned them at the observatory. What bad words are they saying? Roman asked in surprise. I don't understand enough Spanish to catch them, I guess. Words like this, Jorge replied, and he mentioned a word which good children in El Salvador never use. The word sounded strange to Roman's ears. As he walked away, he repeated it silently over and over to himself so that he would not forget. I must talk to the boys about this, the missionary said soberly. That evening, when he gathered the children together for family worship, Roman tried to explain to Alfredo and Pedro why God wanted them to have clean hearts and clean speech. The Lord is not pleased when we swear and use bad words, he told them. We do not want you to say bad words like this anymore, and we will try to help you break the habit. If you use such words again, we will need to punish you. Alfredo rolled his eyes meaningfully to Pedro. They had already learned that Pappy Roman kept a small strap hanging in his office and used it to spank boys who did not obey. Yes, Pappy, the boys agreed dutifully. We won't say that word anymore. But in their hearts, the boys did not understand the seriousness of bad language. Using swear words made them feel big and tough, so they did not stop. During the next few days, there were several times when Pappy needed to use the strap on boys who said bad words. As Roman Mullet listened to the boys at their play, he kept watching out for that bad word Jorge had warned about. He had repeated it in his mind so many times that he knew it by heart. Patiently kept on trying to teach the children to use clean language and clean habits. That Saturday night, Pappy and Mammy took some of the children into town to do some shopping. You ladies can buy your things and then wait for us in the park, Roman told his wife. I'll take the boys to get new pants and then we will meet you there. Amanda, Rosa, and Carmen, a new girl in the children's home, climbed out of the car and disappeared among the crowd. Pedro and Alfredo followed Pappy into the shop where they were to buy new pants and then into a few more stores. Finally, laden with packages and bags, they walked back to the mission car. Laughing and talking, the two boys bounced around the back seat as Roman drove carefully down the crowded streets. In their excitement, they forgot to wonder where Mammy and the girls were. Roman, too, had forgotten about his wife. Whistling cheerfully, he guided the car along the highway leading out of town. Suddenly, as he stopped at a red light, the truth dawned upon him. He had left Amanda and the girls behind. In his shock and confusion, Roman said the first thing that came to his mind. Unfortunately, that thing was the very same bad word which Jorge had taught him, the word he had tried so hard to remember. By repeating it over and over, he had fixed the word in his mind. Now, in his time of trouble, the word had slipped from his tongue. The missionary had said a bad word, and 2 little boys had heard him say it. There was a strange silence in the car as Roman turned it around and headed back to the city. Lord, what do I do now? He prayed desperately. Amanda and the girls were patiently waiting in the park. Roman helped them into the car and began the homeward trip once more. As he drove, he told his wife what had happened. Speaking softly in the language the children didn't understand, he asked, "What shall I do about it? Is my bad example going to ruin everything I've tried to teach these boys?" "Better be honest with them," Amanda advised softly. "Talk about it. Let them see how sorry you are. Perhaps this will help them see how serious bad language is." The 2 boys were very subdued when they reached their children's home. After all the bundles had been carried into the car, Roman called them into his office. "Boys," he began sorrowfully, "do you know why we are here?" "No," exclaimed Pedro, but he did not look at the missionary. "We didn't do anything," Alfredo chimed uneasily. "Did I do something?" Roman questioned. Pedro shook his head, looking only at the floor, but Alfredo was more honest. "Pappy, you said that bad word," he answered. "That's right, I did," Roman said sadly. "I said that bad word you boys must never say. I didn't mean to, and I'm very sorry, because God doesn't like us to talk that way. Now, you boys must punish me." "How, Papi?" Alfredo asked fearfully. "You must take that strap and spank me while I kneel down here," Roman replied. "Oh, no, Pappy, no, Pappy, we couldn't do that," the boys cried out in horror. "Then what shall we do?" asked the missionary soberly. All at once the 2 little boys flung their arms around Roman. "Let's pray for you," Alfredo cried tearfully. "Yes, Papi, Jesus will help you not to do it again." Pedro wept as he hugged Roman tightly. "All right, boys, we will ask Jesus to forgive me and help all 3 of us." The missionary agreed. Tears were running down his own cheeks as they knelt together. This was the day Pedro and Alfredo learned their lesson. The bad word, which had seemed so tough and smart when boys said it, had sounded so very ugly when it came from the lips of their kind and godly pappy. The Mullets never heard either of the 2 boys use it again. Okay, so we have a little historical note, and it says, this story happened in El Salvador in 1972. Roman and Amanda Mullet spent 6.5 years in El Salvador. They founded a children's home called Nueva Vida y Esperanza, which means new life and hope. Rosa, Alfredo, and Pedro were the first children to live there. Over the years, many more children have been given loving care and Christian teaching in the Nueva Vida y Esperanza home. Roman Mullet, a minister, lives in Ohio today. Wasn't that a good story? So even our pastors and parents and missionaries have sin natures, don't they? We all have sin natures, but the power of the Lord Jesus Christ and the Holy Spirit can help us not to sin. But when we do sin, we need to confess that sin and ask the Lord to forgive us. In this case, Roman, the missionary, had to ask the 2 boys to forgive him too. And him being honest with the 2 boys about his own sin was really what turned them around, wasn't it? So, I hope you learned a little lesson today. And this is Grandma Carla, and I love you.